As you are working on your summary response final draft, I wanted to create a couple of videos to help with the APA components. So this video is going to focus on the summary response references page. I'll do one in Google Drive and then I'll do one in Word. So we're going to center the word references at the top of the paper. It should be in bold and the paper should be double spaced. So double check your spacing, make sure that it's a 2 or double. We're going to come off of centering and we're going to start with the author's last name. So in order to get to the article, you're going to navigate in the course to Unit 2, Summary Response Essay, and there's the reading for the Summary Response Essay, Don't Call Kids Smart. Once that opens up, you should have all the information, or most of the information, that you'll need in order to complete the reference entry. So we're going to start with the author's name, James Hamlin. On the references page, you start with, oops, I'm still in bold, so let me turn that off. You start with last name first, then a comma, and then your first initial and a period. If you had a middle initial, you would put it right here. The next item is the date. So we're going to go back to our reading and we're going to check the date, June 30th, 2015. So the date goes in parentheses and we start with the year, then a comma, then the month, then the day. And you close the parentheses and you put a period after it. That's the end of the date entry. The next item is the title. The title is Don't Call Kids Smart. So what we're going to do is type the title here, but APA requires that we use sentence case, which is the way that we would normally capitalize a sentence. Only the first word, any proper nouns or adjectives, and then if we have a subtitle, it would be like starting a new sentence. So don't call kids smart. So that's the title, and you can see that the only word that's capitalized here is the first word, don't. We need a period at the end of this entry because this is the end of the title, but we have a quotation marks here. So I know many people will do this, but it's actually more correct to do it this way. So that's what I'm going to ask you to do. Don't call kids smart. Now, because this is not published in an actual magazine, if you look it up, it's actually published on a website. The Atlantic does put out a paper magazine, but we're not accessing it on paper. We're accessing it on the web. So in order to show that this is a web article, what we're going to do is we're going to italicize the title. So that's going to go in italics, and then we're going to put the name of the publication not in italics. Now, if this were a journal, like something printed, the American Psychological Association's, printed guide or something, these two things would be reversed. You would not italicize the title, and you would italicize the source. But for this one, it's going to look like this. And then the last thing that you need for a web article or a web page is the URL. Now, if you're just looking at this one here, the URL is at the bottom of the page. But it's hard to copy from the D2L window, and you probably don't want to type all this out. So I would encourage you to just open up a new tab, type in the title and the author, and find the page. Let me scoot this up a little bit. Find the web page, and then copy this, the URL. This is going to go right onto your references page right here. Okay? Now, because this is a long URL, it doesn't fit on this line, so it bumps it to the second line. So now what we need to do is we need to put this into a hanging indent. And in order to do that, we're going to do Format, Paragraph and Styles. No, maybe not. Align and indent, sorry. Align and indent, then down to indentation options, and under special indent, we're going to choose hanging. So what the hanging indent is going to do is it's going to bump the second line over so that it hangs under the first line. If yours doesn't look right, it could be that this is not set to 1/2 inch. This should be set to 0.5 or 1/2 inch of a hang. So it'll look just like this. So you can't really do this by just hitting the space bar, space bar, space bar. It's not going to work. and it's going to mess up the formatting if you end up adding in any additional sources. So always use the hanging indent feature. So this is exactly what your reference page should look like for the summary response. Just follow the steps and go ahead and do this in Google Drive. If you're working in Word, it's going to be very, very similar. I'm just going to copy. So in Word, we do essentially the same thing. We're going to center on the page. We are going to make sure that we're double spaced. We're going to come off of centering. It's Hamlin. Oops, I'm still in bold. Hamlin, James. It's 2015, June 30th. Period at the end of the date entry. Don't call kids smart. None of that is capitalized except the first word, The Atlantic. And remember that the title needs to be in italics. And then we put in our URL. So let me go back to this one, copy this again. Okay, now in order to do a hanging indent in Word, you highlight both lines and you open up the paragraph settings box. Under indentation, there's a choice to choose a hanging special indent. It should also be set to 5.5 inches. Hit OK, and then you've got your hanging indent. So if you're using Word, this is how you would do that same entry. Make sure that you're in 12-point font. And you're good to go. So that's the reference entry for the summary response in both Google and Word. Hopefully this helps, and if you have additional questions, just let me know.